You are listening to the Dave Sweetmore Show, and it is an absolute pleasure to say joining me now is Slade legend Dave Hill. Dave, how you doing?
I'm doing fine, Dave. I like these Daves. Lots of Daves here, isn't there?
Everyone knows a Dave, don't they? Everyone knows a Dave.
Everyone knows a Dave.
Thank you for taking the time out to join us today. I know you'll be a busy man, especially at this time of the year. I just want to start back at the beginning. 1966, you formed the band. Did you think that 55 years on, over 20 top 20 hits, 6 number ones, did you think that, almost 6 decades on, you'd still be filling out halls and, places like you are?
Well, I don't think you ever thought about that. When you're young, you only think you're young. You don't actually think that you'd probably be doing it. Although I think it's just developed in a way that I have continued to do it, because I think, the days of 1966, you never know what the road's going to be like. And I think the road has always been very important to me, because that's how we learned to play, and that's how we got to be a great band. Time has passed when you try and figure out how long you've been doing it, and would you still be doing it at this age? Well, I'm glad I am doing it, because I'm passionate about it, as I was from the beginning. Being passionate about the whole thing has kept me going all this time.
I bet it's gone quick as well, though, really, hasn't it? I bet it's quite frightening when you put it in years, just how long you have been touring.
Yeah, I don't think about it as much. Yes, how long I've been touring. That's what's been difficult in COVID, is actually stop touring. I wasn't quite used to that at all. Being at home wasn't really what I do at all. There's always going away somewhere to enjoy, somewhere traveling, meeting new people. But being at home in COVID was very, very difficult at that time. And I was missing it tremendously. But the thing is, I have such a passion for it. That's what I mean in my life. It's not a job. It's always been a passion to do what I've been doing all these years.
You can hear that talking to you and in your live performance still as well. So you formed in 1966 and you quickly became one of the biggest bands in the world. And if you don't mind me saying, probably during the 70s especially. What were your life like in the 1970s when, you're one of the biggest bands in the world, knocking out hit after hit?
Well, it was a wonderful time, wasn't it? It was a magical time, I think. I think the whole aspect of the 60s was black and white, but the 70s was colour. And, of course, coloured television came in. And, of course, wearing the costumes that I did would be great for me, and colour, and great for the promotion of it on Top of the Pop. I think the memories of it all are absolutely wonderful. I think 70s is an era of glam, if you want to call it, or excitement, colour, TV, platform, flares, you name it, we did it. And people used to tune into television to see what we were going to wear. I mean, that was always wonderful. And that's how much I enjoyed, actually, dressing up for that show. It was so important to me. Because it's good to have great records, but you've got to have a look. And that was important in the 70s. And I think that particular time in Top of the Pop was when everybody knew what was in the charts, because they had Top of the Pops to watch, to actually see the chart rundown. And I think that's paramountly important in what we were doing.
Very much so. And I think, you with the band were knocking out anthem after anthem, and, they were all great, great records. But the live shows were just as important. And I think Slade became as known for that, as well as doing all the amazing records you did.
Yeah, playing live is very important, as well as all the amazing records we did. Yes, playing live has always been important to Slade, because that's really what the root of it all is. We've always been a live band. We've always been a great rock and roll band. But playing live is paramountly important to us. That's how we learnt our craft and how we got better. And I think when all is said and done, you have the hit records, which is a wonderful time, but you have to go back on the road and actually play those songs is even more wonderful. And all these years on, you're so glad to have the amount of songs that we've got to play to people out there.
Yeah, and there is a lot of them. So during the 70s, were you living the rock and roll lifestyle to excess? Was it as good as it looked?
Well, there was a lot of work, but there was a lot of fun in it. Yes, you had the Rolls Royce, and you had the glamour, you had the prestige, you had the write-up, you had all that, but there was also the fundamental thing of what you were in a band for. I think it was not just about the aspect of being famous, although we were very famous. It was a wonderful time to actually experience that fame, and I think having fame in the band has always been great for us. We've always known how to manage it too, and that's always been our strong point. We always got on well together. We had a great manager in Chaz Chandler, and we knew how to cope with the fame. All the rest of it has been a joy, travelling the world and playing all the hit records to lots of people. It's always been, because the music just lasts. and it's as good now as it was then.
What's that interesting listening to you is, even though you were a fun band with great rock and roll records, it sounds like even back then you did take it seriously as well.
Well, I think you want to be the best you can, and you worked hard at it. It was important to actually, all the songs we learnt of other bands and eventually started to write songs of our own, that's important because you look to the past as the thing you learn from, but what you become is obviously part of the past. And I mean, now, obviously, what we've become is our own entity. We've become our own fame. It's because we've worked at it at that time and we've gone forward at it into the famous times. We're having our own songs, producing our own songs with Chaz, that we ended up having things that we'd play to folks.
You've had over 20 top 28, 6 number ones, all massive anthems that are going to be around forever. But in 1973, you brought out, obviously, the record, Merry Christmas, Everybody. What are your memories of the first time you played that song as a band, the four of you, gang of lads? What was your first memories of hearing that song?
Well, of course, we were actually in a studio in New York, you see. It was 100 degrees outside. And we were actually recording a Christmas song. And it was an office block, you see. John Lennon had booked a week there and cancelled it. And we decided we'd go in and record this Christmas song because it was a good idea. So when we were in the studio, we were learning to play it. And Nod and Jim had written it, and we were learning to play it actually during the week. And then we just built it up from there and got the production going. And finally finished it at the end of the week. But we didn't hear the final thing until it was actually mixed, because Chaz had got to bring it back to England and mix it. And then I think it was much, much later when we actually heard the record, because it was nearer Christmas at that time. And that was a wonderful feeling because it made more sense. Rather than it being in New York when it was boiling off and singing Merry Christmas in the corridors and the Americans coming to work. Can you imagine that? The Americans come to work, so some crazy people here singing Merry Christmas, everybody. It's 100 degrees outside. How can they do this? It was absolutely hilarious. But actually coming back to England after it all, we knew it was a good song, but we didn't. Getting near to Christmas time made more sense of it. And, of course, when we heard it on the radio, well, it talks for itself, doesn't it?
It's become, the best Christmas record ever, without a doubt. Did you have a feeling it were going to blow up like it did?
No. I think we made a record because we thought it was a good idea. Nobody was writing Christmas songs at the time, and it seemed that somebody had an idea, and I think he mentioned it to Jim, that nobody writes Christmas songs anymore. It's all jingle bells. And this is really where that song came out of, that idea, because nobody did write Christmas songs. There were always carols and all those kind of things, more traditional music. And there was White Christmas, of course, that was a great Christmas song. But having a rock and roll Christmas song was something completely original. And coming from a band like Slade, of course, it was special. And I think when it was released, England were going through a rather bad time with a lot of strikes. And I think when that song came out, it lifted a nation. And I think really it still lifts a nation now. But we never realised the longevity of it because we thought it was just happening then. We never thought that all these years later that it would be getting all the airplay and it become a classic.
December has got to be, the busiest month every year, without a doubt, for you and the lads in the band. How do you celebrate Christmas Day? Do you kind of do you end up listening to it on Christmas Day, or is it one of them Christmas days a day where you keep away from it?
Well, I don't ever want to keep away from it because I'm here in the shops permanently. I might be out shopping and it's suddenly on, and I'm walking around the store and somebody sees me. It's really funny because suddenly you get spotted and it's like they're singing it, I mean, it's a wonderful song and it's a wonderful time to have it out. I know that we've had so many great songs and we're not just about Christmas. We've never been just about Christmas. But I'm always pleased to hear it on radio. I'll never, ever tire of it because the public love it. And it also helped maybe get people into Slade. At least they might remember one song and check out the other songs that we had.
I do love the fact that listening to you, Dave, you still, it'd be easy for you to be quite fed up with it, but you still buzz off it, don't you? You still...
Oh, absolutely passionate. I've always been passionate about playing music, and I'm passionate about the songs that we wrote. That'll always be my life.
Like you say, though, Dave, you know, the band were nothing just about one song. You had so many brilliant hit records. And to this day, I mean, I still do a lot of work with new bands, up-and-coming bands and stuff like that. And Slade still gets, you know, you're still named as an influence on so many bands, even to this present day, because of the amount of great rock and roll records you have. Do you keep up to date with, like, new music and what's going on the rock and roll scene?
Oh, yes. So I always listen to music that's out there. I mean, there's nothing wrong in that. I think we're living in different times, how we get our music. It's not quite the same as it was in the 70s, when music seemed to me paramountly important. You know, the vinyl records, the 45s. I think all that era has changed now. I think people used to go and buy the record and play it around their houses, and that's how they used to get into it. I think now it's more downloads and more a completely different method with iTunes and the way that people actually receive the music. But you've always got to take an ear to what's going on, you know. I mean, I love Adele. People like her, you know, it's wonderful to see that such artists come from our country. But I think really from the past to now, it's a completely different time. But I think good songs will always last. I think it's not about necessarily, oh, yes, it was just then. I think really when you've written good songs, they're still good songs now. They were great then, they're great now.
I think you've proved that with what you're still doing with your band, without a doubt. So coming up, starting this weekend, your tour starts this weekend, the 2021 tour. It starts in Cardiff this weekend. You go to Southampton, Reading, London, Norwich, Leeds, Birmingham, Holmfirth, Bury St Edmunds, Newcastle, and slap bang in the middle of that, you're with us in Manchester at the O2 Ritz on Sunday the 19th of December. What could people expect from this tour, Dave?
They can expect a good time. This is what they need. I mean, everybody needs a good time right now. They've been locked down too long. And I think who better than Slade can actually entertain people? That's the joy of it. You can get out there. I mean, I love it. And I love performing. I've always continued to do it. And I love doing it. And I think the thing about it all is that we can bring some joy and share some memories with people when they need it at this particular time. I think the nation needs lifting up. After all they've been through, I think we can help do that.
Very much so, and it's with all the hits and stuff, yeah?
With all the hits, you won't be missing one. We'll start off with a hit record, and we shall continue the whole show till the end, and it'll be nothing but hits, number ones, number twos, number threes, number fours. It just goes on.
It's
because
brilliant.
We can do a long show of hit records.
You can. Do you know, when you look out, you must get a buzz still, the fact that you look out and you've got younger generations coming that, you know, still love you, and Slade still means so much to people of all generations and all ages. You must get a buzz looking at the crowd and seeing that it's not just, you know, kids of the 70s. It's like, you know...
Oh, yeah, because I think they learn from the parents or they learn from their brothers. There's things like that when they've heard music being played around the house. You know, and they get off on it when they're young. And I think sometimes we might talk about the Christmas song because sometimes they hear a song like that and they think of us at this time of year. But of course, when they start checking out actually how many hits we really had, then of course they're introduced to a lot more featured things. I mean, last year we had Come On Feel the Hits. I mean, that just proved how many songs we had, how many songs that were in the charts and how many songs that were written. It's just that we've got such a body of work, you see. So therefore, but I mean, playing live, it's about actually doing the best of Slade. And we've always done good things in albums and good things on B-sides. But I think the music at this time now is important for us to actually play what people come to hear. They come to hear and they come to feel memories of what was great in their time.
Very much so. So going forward after the tour, Dave, what can we play? Can we expect from Slade in the future? Do you still write music, or, you know, is that something we can expect?
Well, in COVID, actually, I've been writing music at home. I've been writing a solo album, so I thought I'd get into that while I was actually not able to play because I was missing it so much. And I think in some ways having something to do at home has really helped me, because I always knew that I wanted to do something solo-wise, and always I'll write things that will possibly suit the band as well. Of course, I'll always have that. But I think sometimes when you're actually at home and you want to try something completely different, I think that is good for me as a person. But with Slade, I know what's good about Slade and what's good for me mentally, and that's what I do live. But I mean, the future for Slade is we continue to do the way we do things. We play live. We do the things we do. And so at some point in the future, I shall do this solo and I shall get it released. So at the moment, I'm still working on it. I shall go in the studio and record it properly. But for now, I'm just looking forward to this British tour and all the dates that we have abroad, which we'll be doing next year.
Do you know what? It's so good to hear. We can't wait for the tour, and it's dead exciting to hear that we might hear some, Dave Hill solo music as well. So something definitely to look forward to. But listen, Dave, really appreciate you taking the time out to join us today. Good luck with the tour, mate. Enjoy it. I know you'll smash it.
Yeah, and Merry Christmas to everybody, and let's have a good time together.
I'm going to say I've got to wish one of the founding members of Slade a Merry Christmas, because I bet no one's done that before.
Well, let's try it.
Listen, Dave, cheers for taking the time out, and enjoy the tour, and we'll speak to you soon, man. Yeah,
thanks a lot.
Thanks,
Have
Dave.
a good day.